Hey, welcome back. It's Pat from PJM Scheduling Services. So today we're going to talk about loose start and loose finishes. Maybe on your project you've received some owner review comments and they said, hey, go ahead and clean up those loose start and loose finish relationships, and you're like, man, what on earth are you guys talking about? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And yeah, if I can explain what loose start and loose finish is, you know what that means. The loose start relationship basically means that the only predecessor relationship type that you have on an activity is a finish to finish relationship. So you might have you could have multiple predecessors, but they're all finish to finish, and there's nothing on there that's a finish to start or a start to start. And what that means is there's nothing driving the start date of that activity. So theoretically, like in this case, activity number 3 has a loose start because the only predecessor is a finish to finish relationship type. There's nothing else on there. And so theoretically, this activity, if we increase the duration to 40 days and we reschedule that activity, the finish date doesn't change and the start date just extends previously and has no effect on the overall schedule. So owners like to see the start dates tied in or start relationships tied in, and so the way that you would do that maybe in this case would be like a start to start relationship between activities 1 and 3. You could link those together and now all of a sudden have those as a start to start, and that would, you can see now there's a relationship line that connects and ties to that start date. So that's like a way of addressing it. But that's what a loose start is. A loose finish, on the other hand, is an activity where the only successor relationship is a start to start relationship. So if you can see, my face isn't blocking this. If you can see here, the only relationships that are on this activity 1 down here have start to start relationship types. So theoretically, this activity could extend infinitely, and if I was to reschedule this, it would have no effect on the overall schedule. So that activity could just keep going and going, and so it's not properly tied back in to your network, your project, your network. So you would want to tie this in somehow, either with a finish to finish relationship somewhere or a finish to start somewhere, in order to kind of close the loop on your critical path. So the way that I filter for this, I'll do 2 separate filters. One, let's start with loose starts. So how do you find loose starts? So basically, if I look at this activity 3, I see, all right, there's no finish to start or start to start relationship in the predecessor, and I want activities where there is a predecessor. So there's really 2 filters we're running at the same time. And if I go to my filter list, I'll show you, I created this filter for loose starts, so I can check that one, and I'll show you what that's filtering for. So that's where the predecessor details does not contain a start to start relationship, or I should say and, because we're filtered here for all of the following, where predecessor does not contain finish to start. Okay, so no start to start and no finish to start relationships. So I'm wanting to look specifically for these finish to finish relationships where there's nothing else going on there. So let's go ahead and press OK. And I also want where the predecessor is not equal to blank. So predecessor not equal to blank. And that's going to give me activities that they have a predecessor relationship, but it's just focused on the ones with a finish to finish relationship only. So those are my 2 filters that I run. Make sure up here it says show activities that match all activities. We want all filters selected, so we apply that, and then that filters for this instance where there's a loose start. Okay, so then you can go through and you can address it like we talked about, either tying it with a start to start somewhere or a finish to start somewhere. Then the other filter, so I'm going to filter for all activities to undo the filter that I just did. The other one that I want to show you is this instance that has a loose finish. So we're looking for an activity that has predecessors on it. So basically I'm wanting to filter out like the project completion milestone. I don't want to include that because that's going to have no successor relationship on there. So I want an activity that has a relationship and only has start to start relationships associated with it. So I'm going to click on my filter, and I created this loose finishes filter. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm doing all of the following. Successor detail doesn't contain a finish to finish, and successor detail doesn't contain a finish to start. And the other thing that I want is where the successor is not equal to blank, and that looks like this. The successor is not equal to blank, and I want all of those. And so if I apply that filter, that's going to give me all the instances where there is a loose finish relationship. And then you can go through and address that by either adding finish to finish relationships or finish to start relationships, somewhere into your network. So that's a little bit about loose start and loose finishes and how to find them in your schedule. Thanks for coming by. All right, bye.